You've probably heard it a million times, whether it be some YouTube compilation titled Commentator epically owns libtard or a Twitter flame war. This quote has become one of the most defining statements of the modern conservative movement. Facts don't care about your feelings.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
There's an expression by a very smart guy. Facts don't care about your feelings.
It's an anthem for an era of young conservatives trying desperately to drag the modern world out of its enamoration with emotion-driven politics. At first glance, this statement makes perfect sense. The fact that you are obese does not care that you don't want to hear it. It's not bothered that your feelings are hurt or you're not comfortable with confronting your existence as being unhealthy. It is simply a fact, unchanging and uncompromising. You can take this statement further into crime statistics, gender differences, data around sexual preferences. There's a lot of uncomfortable realities that don't necessarily line up with how we feel the world should be. However, throwing facts at people without any sort of compromise or consideration of how they're presented is stupid. If conservatives want to play the game where the only way they engage with their opponents is by throwing the most upsetting data at them, laughing and mocking when they attempt to deflect, and then refusing to consider any other approaches, well, the right is doomed. And we're already beginning to see that. The reason being is one very important fact that is consistently swept under the rug by conservative establishment, think tanks, and the like, coincidentally out of the very same fear that makes progressives sweep facts under the rug as well. A complete and utter inability to process and engage with the fact at hand. That fact being, feelings don't care about your facts. Yeah, let's just turn that little gotcha on its head. Some of you may hear that statement and think, what an utterly stupid thing to say. Your feelings don't care about facts, but your feelings are irrelevant. I care about facts, and the average person's feelings are simply just not as important to civilizational survival as the average fact is. Wrong and wrong. Firstly, no one wholeheartedly cares about just facts. Without a doubt, even the most cold and statistical-minded individuals would have a moment in their life where feelings outweighed their care for facts. As for the average person, this occurs on a daily basis. I don't really care if your facts say I shouldn't bother being a writer because it won't earn me money. I love to do it. I don't really care if our facts say marriage has a 50% chance of failing. I still find it a worthwhile cause. The evidence of factual rejection is all around us. If everyone lived their life with an adherence to what was factually and statistically better for our civilization, we would have a perfect civilization. We wouldn't have obesity, we wouldn't have smokers, and we wouldn't have people with gambling addictions. But ignoring facts due to our low self-control or carnal desire is not the only reason for or result of rejecting facts. We also see much beauty occur because of this. Rejection of facts may occur because of some deeper desire to adhere to a higher standard of being and morality. A man and a woman who get married and have a deep love despite the fact that one will die of some horrible disease soon, and it makes no statistical life or logical sense to pursue such a path. The 300 Spartans who fought a war they knew they would lose simply because it was better to die on their feet than to live on their knees. Their sense of honor, strength, and bravery rippled through all civilizations to come, and arguably, it was that very sacrifice and spirit they had that made their civilization worth fighting for. And if all this talk of love and duty and kindness strikes you as excessively wishy-washy and emotional, let me pose this a different way. Since 1980, the US has amassed 250,000 cold cases. Only 60% of murders are solved as of 2020. If you heard only those facts, you would probably conclude that if you wanted to kill someone, you have almost a 50-50 shot of getting away with it. In fact, you'd have a better shot than Nate Silver gave Donald Trump of winning the 2016 election. And if all you cared about were the facts, that might induce you to play the odds and murder someone. Who cares if they have a family or friends or people who would mourn them? Facts don't care about your feelings. Now, yes, 60% still means that on balance you shouldn't murder someone, but does anyone really say the only reason they're not acting like Jack the Ripper is because police departments aren't incompetent enough for it yet? That maybe if BLM protesters and defund the police movements makes them only able to solve 40% of murder cases, you'll just spontaneously turn into Jeffrey Dahmer? I mean, the odds are you'll get away with it, right? This is obviously not how any normal person thinks about murder. This is how a sociopath thinks. The origins of morality are far too complex to get into in this video, but one thing we do know from social psychologists like Jonathan Haidt is that our moral code evolved to enable humans to survive as a social unit. And as a result, when someone does something that our evolutionary memory taught us is immoral, we have very strong feelings about it, and that is good. Without those feelings, with only the blunt reality of what we can see and measure to guide us, we would have died out as a species a long time ago. Feelings help us react to facts, to process facts, and yes, to ignore them when morality, duty, or just survival demand it. The truth is, facts are not why we live our life. They are not our guiding principle. Facts are not a guide or a principle at all. Facts do not tell us what to do. They don't issue down edicts. They have no requests or moral guides for man. They preach nothing. They have no useful vision for us. They are a God of no content, simply a tool. I would worship emotion before I worshipped fact, because perhaps then I would be able to experience love at least once in my life rather than live as a vacant computer. If my frustration with conservatism's obsession with facts has not been made clear enough, let me take things one step further. Not only do feelings not care about your facts, but facts don't care about your feelings is only really true at the most facile level. Yes, the sky is blue, I suppose, but it's only blue because the way the light hits our eyes, otherwise it would be seen as violet. Facts do indeed exist, but are only things we can perceive and interpret, and perceptions definitely care about our feelings, as we've learned from the various viral pictures in which one person sees a blue dress and the other sees a white dress. Two things can be true at the same time. Now, what is the point of all of this? You may be wondering, why am I ripping in to conservatives' sacred platitude? There's plenty of stuff I could go after the left for that they're doing wrong instead of attacking my own side. Well, in the famous words of Gandalf, I'm not trying to hurt you, I am trying to help you. Conservatives have become addicted to this once powerful but now very toxic tool that is doing more damage to ourselves than helping anyone or anything. Famous leftist philosopher Saul Alinsky wrote in Rules for Radicals, "A tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag." And that could not be more applicable than here. And do remember, Rules for Radicals was written when the left were getting culturally dominated, when they did not run the institutions and they were being censored. And people have given it credit for changing that around. So perhaps it's time conservatives ought to start taking tips from Alinsky.
It's time that a good part of our country began to wake up and live in the world as it is, rather than the world as we would like it to be.
Today, leftists hurt their cause by rejecting and sweeping any and all facts under the rug which they find scary to engage with, such as the reality of transgender players in women's sports or the like being, problematic. It's a very uncomfortable conversation for progressives to have, so instead they opt to deconstruct social order and norms, but in doing so damage their own cause because eventually people are forced to confront that reality. Many conservatives would agree with this analysis and yet do not realize they mimic the exact same behavior in the realm of creativity and emotion. Conservatives have removed themselves entirely, much like leftists, because they are so poor at engaging with it, they try to deem it unimportant and useless.
First, I don't care about your feelings. Like, just be perfectly clear, I care nothing about your feelings. I don't want to hear about your feelings. I don't want to hear about your subjective emotions. I don't want to hear about your heart cries out to the, I don't care, you're not my wife, you're not my kid, I don't give a damn.
As a young conservative, the message you'll get is arts are a cause for liberals, those with bad planning skills, and those with naive idealism for a world only imagined and not one in front of them. Go into the trades, don't waste your future away on some useless degree in humanities or arts. That is the lesson you are taught. A lesson as valuable to the preservation of one's cause as don't have children. We mock the left for such self-defeating ideas and yet include them in our own manifestos. In our ignorance and rejection of some of society's greatest influences and communication methods, We conservatives have built the path to our own demise, the same way progressives build the path to theirs by ignoring extremely important facts. And much like how the left mocked and derided Trump supporters for being useless internet trolls and Trump as being an impossible to win candidate that was a joke,
and which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
they were steamrolled by the very people they ignored and mocked. Now conservatives have spent decades telling people the arts are a useless subject, that poets and writers will never get jobs, laughed at their stupidity, while those very artists are culturally kicking our butts. Don't get me wrong, I am not ignoring how difficult it is to get a job in the arts, nor am I denying the importance of facts and stats altogether. However, there is a difference between saying some things are just true regardless of how you feel about them, and denying the entire human experience of subjectivity, rejecting the importance of different communication methods and styles, and deliberately throwing away and mocking one of the most powerful tools for human engagement and understanding throughout human history.
Feelings aren't facts, but yet you use it as part of your comedy spiel.
What's one time I used feelings? When did I ask anyone to empathize with my struggle?
I guess you don't, and I feel sorry
That's
for
right,
you for
I
that.
use logical thinking and rational objective analysis. Thank you for your time tonight.
And I am 100% guilty of all of this. I have only recently started being a little more self-critical. Now, even if you don't buy my argument that facts can be perceived differently and human subjectivity is deeply important, at the very least, even the most factual mind must acknowledge a good portion, if not the majority of our populace, are politically and emotionally swayed, not by charts and graphs, but by art and creativity. I don't really care about your statistics until you convince me why my soul should care about them. Feelings really are what our world is all about. Emotions of love, anger, hatred, beauty, joy, and passion. People are not motivated to live or work another day by the numbers on a graph determining their worth to a company, or their voting record tracked by some super PAC. Since the dawn of time, people have been motivated by pure emotion, whether that be the emotion of feeling desperate, hunger, which drove man to evolve in the realm of hunting and gathering, or the emotion of fear, which is ingrained in our deepest psyche and causes our stomachs to churn and our body to recoil at the sight of a venomous snake or a spider, or perhaps more romantically, the deepest emotion of all, love, which will make humans do all sorts of crazy things. When I wish to feel, when I truly wish to experience humanness at its most raw, I do not go looking at a chart graph or listening to an educational podcast. I go for a walk in nature. I listen to music and I submerge myself in the emotion and rawness of the artist, expressing their deepest worries and vulnerabilities. No matter how irrational or overbearing, it somehow seems to resonate with our illogical souls. Because the truth is, we are not in control of everything as human beings. You cannot plan and calculate every route your life is going to go. Thinking you can use some conservative fact-based listicle to get a great 9-to-5 job with a white picket fence and a perfectly groomed trad wife is as delusional as the perfect utopias dreamed up in socialist poetry classes. Ludwig von Mises once disdainfully described socialism as every man a subordinate clerk in a bureau. It seems like today, conservatives are fine with that as long as the bureau is privately owned. We don't have to be clerks living by spreadsheets. We can get close to ideals, we can use facts as a guide and a compass for our emotional chaos internally, but they are not the end-all be-all. More importantly, they are not the way to win a culture. And this is not even the only route that conservatism has gone, which has abandoned our ability to win culture. We've abandoned it on so many levels that we actually really won before. In classical conservatism, one would almost certainly favor the community. However, our modern take on conservatism seems to prefer a rejection of said duty to our fellow man, a focus on how much an individual can succeed over the other, rather than how he can work with and help the other, how he can care for and build up their soul and healing. Rejecting our duty to others and rejecting emotion is not only a rejection of a successful society, but the rejection of Christian ethics, which many conservatives claim to love. And no, rejecting hardcore individualism does not make you a communist. It's not that individual achievement or even cutthroat competition is bad, but like facts, these are not the only things that matter in life or politics. In fact, we seem to have only two words for people who do think that atomizing themselves in order to better outperform and humiliate their fellow man is all there is to life. The first word is sociopaths, and the second, if the mainstream right continues to have their way, will be conservatives. And I know that's not conservatives. I am a conservative myself. I have conservative family. I have conservative friends who love art, music, movies, who volunteer in their community. Most conservatives are not walking around trying to Ben Shapiro own every libtard in their town. There are lots of people who don't feel represented by and are tired of the approaches of public conservative intellectuals, think tanks, and politicians. In fact, even Ben Shapiro seems to get that this is not all there is to life, seeing as he's now making movies with Gina Carano. I bet you anything, those movies are not going to be just Gina reading a phone book full of Justice Department statistics. So how do we fix our approach, Lauren? Great question. I, of course, don't have all the answers, but in making my own movies and in observing what progressives have done to succeed, I do have a few ideas. Joseph Stalin quite poignantly noted, "A single death is a tragedy and a million is a statistic." The human mind cannot comprehend millions, thousands, even hundreds. These are simply numbers. We can calculate outcomes of said numbers, but we don't feel when we read them. We don't necessarily understand why we should care about those numbers. Movies, art, music, literature, and poetry, these are all methods that speak truth to our souls in different ways. We need to learn to speak that language rather than to mock it. A lot of people criticize progressives, quite rightly, for wanting to tear down traditions and societal structures while offering no creation in their place. Deconstructionists with no plan, because destroying is easy while creating is hard. Sadly, this has become true of conservatives in a lot of ways as well. Destroying liberals and SJWs online is not a political plan. Tweeting about hypocrisy all day is not changing much. This does have its place, and it can be fun to watch, but there has to be more. We have to take more than the easy, entertaining route and start creating in different ways as well. Don't let yourself get isolated. Take the time to build emotional friendships and relationships with those around you. Build your community. Don't just criticize its collapse online. I have a very good friend of mine who is like the Mother Teresa of our friend group. When someone is broken, having a divorce, a life crisis, whatever it might be, they end up on her couch sobbing. And she prays for them and builds them back up like nothing you've ever seen before. She invites everyone over to cheer them up. She's just an incredible woman. Imagine one of these broken people going on Twitter for advice instead. It would be a bunch of individuals they don't know yelling, "Why didn't you just fix your relationship?" when they have no idea what actually happened, or progressives saying, "This is why men are trash and you need to revolt against them." Nothing particularly helpful to their soul or building them back up. Get grounded in reality. Another idea, don't reject the arts, embrace them. Support and encourage conservatives who want to go into acting. Support people who want to become producers, writers, and artists. Yeah, they may have to keep their views to themselves for a while until they get into positions of influence, but that was also the reality of what progressives had to do for a long time, and they managed it, so we gotta stop moaning and just do it. The long march through the institutions. And most importantly, out of all these things I've said, don't reject emotion. It's a real thing that influences most of society and culture, and we have to learn how to engage with it or lose. Simple as that. Yes, facts don't care about your feelings, but facts don't care about anything. We do. And if we don't start to acknowledge the fact that humans care about feelings at least as much as we care about facts, we may end up faced with a dystopian hell where power cares neither about your feelings nor about your facts.